Welcome to the Conservative Viewpoint, where the truth always matters. I'm your host Charlie, the country conservative, and co-host Brendan, from The Brendan Statler Show. We are your source for conservative news. Now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, patriots and truth seekers, welcome to the Conservative Viewpoint. I'm your host Charlie, the country conservative.
And I'm Brendan Statler from The Brendan Statler Show.
Today we're diving headfirst into the turbulent waters of a political spectrum. Buckle up, because we're about to challenge the status quo, question the narratives, and defend the timeless principles that have shaped our great nation. As we gather in this arena of ideas, let's remember that conservatism isn't just a political ideology, it's a moral compass. It's about preserving the bedrock values that have guided us through storms and victories alike. So grab your metaphorical muskets, because we're about to wage an intellectual battle for liberty, limited government, and individual responsibility. Our forefathers didn't pen the Constitution with quills dipped in indecision. They etched it with the ink of conviction, knowing that freedom isn't a given, it's a constant struggle. Today, we honor their legacy by dissecting policy, dissecting rhetoric, and dissecting the very soul of our nation. So whether you're sipping coffee or clutching your steering wheel, join us as part of a grand experiment. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Conservative Viewpoint, where the truth always matters. We are your trusted source for conservative news, where we're attempting to let you people get your voices heard on our show, because the government has forgotten what the people of this country really want. And we are here to send a message to the government that we are sick and tired of them not working for we, the people, like they are supposed to be. So we're doing these shows to let you guys get your frustrations out from the government doing what they want and not what helps this country and the people of this country survive. We need to do what we can to make sure that the government hears what the people of this country has to say about how they are running things and how they need to start running things the way the people want it to be run, not the way they want it to be run. That is why we elect these people to do our bidding, and they have forgotten that. So come November 5th, we are going to show them that we mean business, and that we were sick of them thinking they can just do what they want, and they think they have a blank check to our tax money. So let's get things rolling off, Brendan. What do you got for us today?
Lots of big news that hardly anybody here in the States is reporting. The only outlets I have seen are outlets over in Europe, so we're just going to get into this real quick. Let me share my screen with you guys here. Here we go. Still trying to figure out how this works sometimes. Okay. Can you see the article, Charlie?
Hope I can just see you. There we go, right there.
Got it now? Okay.
Yep.
This is an outlet from Ukrainian news. It says NATO developing land corridors to transfer of troops in case of war with RF. This is according to another outlet over in Europe known as the Telegraph. So I'm going to run through this pretty quickly. Not going to go through the whole article because I'm sure you guys probably already get what this is about. According to the plan, American soldiers will disembark at one of 5 ports and be sent along pre-planned logistical. Sorry, I can't read today. routes to counter a possible attack by Moscow. In the event of a Russian invasion, the troops would be brought to the port of Rotterdam. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, and then transferred to the east. Also, behind the scenes, agreements are being made to expand routes to other ports so that the Russian Federation cannot cut the land communications line. So we're going to jump over to Twitter here real quick. Can you see this, Charlie?
Yeah, I got the map.
This is a tweet from Jack Posobiec. This is the map showing how NATO will bring U.S. troops to Russian front line. So you could see the plan that NATO has laid out to send American soldiers over to defend Ukraine, a non-ally, a non-NATO member, by the way. But this is what we have been talking about all along here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
Okay.
This is what we've been talking about ever since this war has started, and we have been dumping endless amount of money into Ukraine. Ukraine, as I said, is not an ally of ours, never has been. It's not part of NATO. But this has been the regime's goal from the entire start of this war, throughout this entire war, is to have troops on the ground, American troops on the ground in Ukraine, because they're probably being blackmailed in Ukraine, if we're being honest. That those are the only two things that happen there, is blackmail and money laundering. So this is why they have stood with Ukraine from the start. And also, as I mentioned before, war is profitable. This is why politicians start wars around the country and lie about the reason we're going to war. We all remember after 9/11, the lie of weapons of mass destruction, and that's why we had to invade Iraq. That's going to be a similar situation here, but I would compare this conflict more to a Vietnam type conflict.
Did you mention why they're doing this? I didn't. I might have been doing something. Why they're sending all these troops over all over the place?
They say it was because, in case, let me make sure I get this right. They said agreements are being made to expand routes to other ports so that the Russian Federation cannot cut the land communications line. I'm sorry. So they're expecting some major attack from Russia, supposedly. Now, this is an outlet from Ukraine, as I said. So, take that with a grain of salt right there.
I did see that they were planning on, I just saw that on another article, that they were planning on invading part of Europe.
Yeah, that's what they're saying anyway.
That could be part of this.
Who knows? But this has been the goal from the start, is what I'm saying, where they want us involved in a war. They want to send our own soldiers to go and die on a foreign battlefield in a war that has nothing to do with us. And honestly, Ukraine has no chance at winning this war. I've mentioned this on the show before. There are many military-age fighting men in Ukraine that are fleeing the country because they're tired of fighting. They understand that victory is no longer an option in Ukraine. I mean, despite what the media tells you, Ukraine is getting their asses kicked in this war. They really are, but they want you to keep thinking that Ukraine is holding them off so we can continue to dump more money. If they came out and told you the truth that Ukraine was getting their ass kicked and we've already sent billions and billions of dollars, how are they going to gaslight everybody into being okay to sending more money over to Ukraine? So this has a potential of getting very, very bad.
It is, especially with Joe Biden allowing this to happen. He's sending troops over there knowing that Russia could be invading other countries. But it could be a fake thing. It could be nothing going to happen, but you never know. Especially with what's going on around this country today, the whole world, I mean.
Yeah, and I just saw this an hour before we came up, probably even less than an hour, honestly. Whenever I sent that to you, Charlie, this is when I first started seeing this. But
that was about an hour. Yeah.
This is a big story, and I have not seen one outlet in the U.S. say anything about this yet. Every outlet I've seen has been a European outlet.
Right. So if you guys have any family members that are in the military and you talk to them, ask them if they're hearing anything, around the camp about something going on like this. And let us know if you find out. Excuse me a second.
This could be what sparks what completely opens up World War III. This will have catastrophic consequences if this is true.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now, all right, I'm going to get things started with how Trump's appeal could play out. Now, why the appeal matters, because it can be unpredictable. But given a timeline and the high bar to overturn the verdict, Trump will almost certainly still be convicted of a felon on election day, be a convicted felon. Now, the timeline that the judge Merchandis gave both parties until June 13th to file motions in the case, which could include requests for him to re-examine some aspects of the case or verdict. So we'll have to see how that goes. Now, Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche, has said that the defense will vigorously fight by filing motions in that window, in that time window that they gave them. So what's next? Sentencing is set for July 11th. We all know that, which Trump would have 30 days to file an appeal after a notice of appeal was filed. The case will go to the New York's Appellate Division. And what that court rules, the New York Court of Appeals, the state's highest court, can't decide if it wants to hear, or it can, if it wants to hear an appeal. Now, the Supreme Court would only get involved if some element of the appeal relates to the Constitution or a federal law, which there is. But you got these liberal idiots on here that says it doesn't seem to apply according to all these fake news people. Well, it does apply. Now, the big picture, the appeal process will take several months, making it very unlikely to conclude before election in November. But you're going to see in the months to come how many lies and bullshit stories these liberal news media are going to put out there to try to convince their liberal sheep that Trump actually is going to go to prison and get them to vote for Joe Biden or whoever the Democrat nominee is going to be come November.
Yeah, this just goes to show how out of touch the politicians in Washington are and how really dumb their voters are, the liberal left voters. I mean, that's the nicest thing I could think to call them is dumb.
Yeah.
That they're really running with that narrative every time they bring up Trump. They're really running with that convicted felon.
They're loving it.
A tagline now that, yeah, they even mentioned it how many times on Capitol Hill today while Merrick Garland was sitting in that while he was testifying through his bullshit distraction hearing that the Republicans are
with his all his lies that he was talking.
Yeah, and all his lies. Yeah, of course. But these people are so out of touch, and the reason I say that is because the majority of people really don't care if Trump is a quote unquote convicted felon or not. The people that were going to vote for him, there is nobody that was considering voting for Trump before the conviction that is now saying, oh, now he's a convicted felon. I'm not so sure I could vote for this guy now. There is not one person out there that is thinking that.
No, I ran two polls. Yeah, I ran two polls the other day.
In fact, it's been the exact opposite. People that weren't going to vote for him maybe are now going to vote for him.
Well, I ran two polls, one on Twitter and one on Wimpkin. And the one on Twitter came back, 85% said that they're still voting for Trump. The other 15% said now they are voting for Trump.
Yeah.
So, and then Wimpkin was just 100%, I'm going to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
So,
and Alan Book says here on Wimpkin, they want to Epstein him in jail. I'm sure they want to, but they're not going to be able to. And the reason is quite obvious. They're going to, if Trump does make it to a jail cell, let's just say that he does. Whether or not he does, I have no idea, but let's just say he does. An entire cell block is going to be cleared just for him because he is a quote unquote former president. He's still the real president, but anyway. So he's going to have an entire cell block cleared off for him. Nobody's going to be around him. And Secret Service has to be with him 24/7. Nobody's going to get the President Trump if he has to go in a jail cell. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, Tammy's right, because Tammy seems like the Democrats want as much chaos as possible, and Trump does win. Oh, most definitely. And you're exactly right, because that's how the Democrats work. They work off of violence, chaos, destruction. That's how they work. You're exactly right.
It's an intimidation element. That's what it is. It's voter intimidation in a way. It's what's the word I'm looking for?
Election interference. So
that's
how you look at it.
Yep, that's all it is. They want to intimidate you to not vote for Trump. That's why they're sowing the chaos in this country. They're virtue signaling to the voters. If you continue to support this guy, this is what your life is going to be. You want everything to go back to normal, quote unquote normal. Vote for us, keep us in power. Well, we don't want to go back to normal. We want our country back. So that's not working. And you know, just about every poll is showing that today.
Well, they're normal, and the real United States.
Yes.
We ain't going to their
those
border.
are, when I say normal, I mean they're global, retained power normal, not normal what America's supposed to be.
Right. Tammy's right again, because she said no New York court will overturn his conviction. And you're right.
No,
so it's definitely going to go to the Supreme Court. And there's all kind of justifications to go to the Supreme Court. And the way it's sounding, the Supreme Court will take it, but it's got to get to that point, and they got to run through the steps.
Yeah. I was just going to say that they're going to make him go through the appellate court first, and that they're most likely going to deny it. As Tammy said, that was Tammy that said that, right?
Yes.
So they're most likely going to deny it because they're all partisan hacks in New York. So it'll get denied. Their Supreme Court will most likely take it up, and they will most likely rule in Trump's favor. But this is going to be a long process. And either way you look at it, the process being drawn out could possibly work for Trump. I don't want to say definitely, because this is a case unlike anything we've ever seen before. Because in most cases, you could avoid jail time for a crime like that. You know, your jail sentence.
Nobody's ever been jailed for this. Nobody's
no,
ever been jailed for this.
No, so, right, yeah, right. I'm saying if somebody was sentenced to jail on, you know, something that's not real heinous, you know, you do, you know, like a lot of unpaid parking tickets or some shit, you know, nothing like murder or anything like that. You could avoid going to jail until your appeals process is over. With this, I have no idea, because it, you know, honestly, I'm surprised they haven't pushed for the death penalty for Donald Trump in this case. Honestly, the way that this has been going.
Oh, when I was a state constable, I'd arrest people all the time and take them to court for worse things than what Trump did. And they would just set up fines, and they'd go back home the same day.
And that's all. And that's all this should have been at the most. I still have not seen a crime that Donald Trump has committed, but all the stuff that the media says that he did wrong, even if he did do this wrong, I don't believe any of it, because it's coming from the bullshit media. But let's just play the game. If he did, at the most, those are a misdemeanor. They're fines. It's not jail time.
So they're just making up excuses. No. But Henry, you're right. Henry,
nobody knows
right, because it does sound like the Democrats want to kill him, because they had Merrick Garland up there today, and they were questioning him. And I saw an article after they were questioning him that he said that use of force is a standard practice, and it's not a standard practice. I'm sorry. I was trained the same way they get trained, and use of force is only justified when your life could possibly be in danger. Who the hell is going to endanger the FBI's life when you have Secret Service and former president of the United States? Where was their life going to be in danger?
Why is it that
the use of force justified?
Why is it that they would supposedly have that policy as standard for the FBI, but not everyday police officers when they're facing people like, you know, say George Floyd, who was armed at a grocery store? He was armed. Yeah, he was armed and held a gun to a pregnant woman's belly.
It's actually is a standard use of force for police.
Yeah, but you would
training at the prison.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know that from the way these politicians talk. I'm saying. They're okay.
They're trying to take all that away. They don't want the police to be able to do that.
Right. That's the point I'm making here. So the one law enforcement agency where it actually is standard procedure, they run the complete opposite direction and say, you know, why did they have their guns drawn when this was going on, this certain situation was going on? You know, they get a call that some guy's holding his wife and kids hostage at gunpoint or something, you know, crazy like this. They'll demonize the police in that, but when they're going to get documents from the president's house in Mar-a-Lago. Lethal force is a standard practice, and it's just the hypocrisy of the left. It is truly astonishing. And what's even more astonishing is the people that support these assholes, their commitment to stupidity. It is so astonishing to me. Go ahead, Charlie.
Everybody they're knocking them out of the park here on Wimpkin. And everybody is so far right. There is no crime. It is his first offense. And that was from Alan and Glenn with the no crime. And Tammy made another good point too. It's one misdemeanor with 33 other made up bullshit things tacked on. It was. They took a crime that the federal government, as far as campaign finance laws, and they threw that out because they said they can't charge it. But that's what he was doing. He's trying to put a federal charge in on a state, local level. He can't do that. This is where you can see that all of this has been made up, and it's all bullshit, and it's all corruption. That's all it is. Period.
And don't forget, it was past the statute of limitations too.
Oh yeah, right. The limitation was out.
This entire process was completely illegal. It's election interference, and this is why Donald Trump's going to win on November 5th.
We're going to make sure of it.
Because people see this bullshit. I'm telling you, we have to be out in full force this election, and I think we're going to be there because the left's not going to be able to help themselves. They're just going to keep doing this shit, and we're going to continue to get stronger from it. So I say keep indicting them, keep convicting them, keep doing all this bullshit that you do. We're just going to get stronger. Keep doing it.
Mark brought up a good question. Why wasn't Trump at Mar-a-Lago on the night of the raid? And Trump, never forget that Trump is always 7 steps ahead.
I'm sure the Secret Service got wind of it and notified him. And they probably got the report because, remember, Ron DeSantis was notified about this before they arrived. Right. So Secret Service probably got wind of this, and they got him out of there because they didn't want a possibility of any funny business going on. So that's most likely why, I would say. If I had to guess, I don't know, but I'm just...
And why didn't they use Florida's FBI? Why did they bring everybody from D.C. to Florida instead of using the Florida FBI? When they do stuff in Pennsylvania, they use Pittsburgh or they'll use Harrisburg or whatever.
But
they're going to use D.C. cops in Florida. That's not right.
Yeah. Well, Ron DeSantis, in my opinion, since this occurred in Florida, should be telling his attorney general to look into this entire process so we get answers. And I don't know why Ron DeSantis has not done that yet. It really makes me wonder about Ron DeSantis, if I'm being honest.
Right. Tammy, you're right. Every American's sick of it. We all are. Well, real Americans, not these liberal idiots or these.
Not the communists, not the terrorists.
Right. And Glenn, you're right. He is definitely going to win. And Trump may have him on the FBI. I'm pretty sure there's a few guys still in there that believe in law and order.
That's possible too. That's possible. Yeah. I never considered that.
Did you see, and this is off the top, no, it's not actually off the topic because we're talking about the FBI. The one FBI whistleblower that won a lawsuit against the FBI.
I didn't see it.
And it was in today's article, and it might be in for tomorrow's stuff, but I don't remember. But one of the whistleblowers that was telling about Christopher Wray's involvement in January 6th was fired. And it was like, I don't know how long. Surprise. Yeah. So, but he received all of his back pay. He received all of his benefits. And then he resigned from the FBI right after the settlement was announced. But now they also want, his attorney is going after everything to be released about Christopher Wray and his involvement in January 6th. So all this shit's going to come to a head real soon about this stuff.
It's going to.
And we're going to be on top of that so we can bring it to you guys as soon as we can.
Yep. There are many people that need to be prosecuted as soon as Trump takes his hand off the Bible. I hope Trump appoints someone like Mike Davis as his attorney general, and they just start going after these people because Mike Davis
he needs a Trump.
Yeah, he doesn't take any bullshit, man. This guy's for real. This is who I would pick if I was in Trump's position. They just need to start prosecuting these people. Keep prosecuting these people. The gloves are off now. That's what needs to happen day one.
Yep, definitely. Now, according to a former Manhattan DA, he thinks there's likely no jail time for Trump. But Brendan and I was talking prior to going on live that we are hearing a lot of different stories here. Like Alan Dershowitz, he put out a lot of scenarios about 4 years and could be possible suspended sentence or no sentence, or there's all kind of things going on right now. So I don't know if we're going to see it, but according to this Manhattan DA, he was Fat Bragg's predecessor, and he doesn't think he'll be sentenced to jail for falsifying. Cyrus Vance Jr., a Democrat who retired from office in 2022, appeared on Sunday morning's NBC Meet the Press, was asked whether he would recommend sending Trump to jail or not. And he said, well, I'm not going to answer that question because that's really up to Fat Braggs. He didn't say Fat Braggs. I said Fat Braggs. He said Mr. No, he's
Call
Fat
him
Ass Braggs.
Twinkies.
Yes, no
that's Dan Bongino's name for him.
Yeah. He goes to say that if you ask me, do I think the court will impose a jail sentence? And I said to you, I think yesterday, but I think not. But yesterday, ultimately, it's the judge's decision, the corrupt ass piece of shit that he is. But I do hear a lot from different attorneys and professors and others. But they are thinking of this case and about the lies and deceit, and the witnesses are confirmed liars. They're tampering with witnesses, tampering with the jury, because the judge fed the jury's ears full of bullshit and lies to make them come up, because they still have, like Brendan said, they didn't come up with a crime. So, but I guess only time will tell. But, Trump will keep fighting, and if we have to keep fighting for him also.
Yeah, and that's why nobody could really give a clear answer on what will happen with this. This is what I talked to you about this before we went live, Charlie, because we've never seen a case like this. I mean, it's a freaking circus. It is a banana republic we're living in now. And, we've never seen anything like this. So how could somebody like Alan Dershowitz, who, I definitely don't agree with his politics, but he is a hell of a lawyer. Even somebody like him cannot come up with a real answer for what we could see, because this is so unusual. The only two scenarios I could see here, and I mentioned this to you too, Charlie, before we went live. I think they're going to try to send him to jail as long as they can. If they only do like 2 years or something like this, or he avoids jail altogether, it's going to be for the reason that they see how this conviction has grown his support. And that's going to be their way to backpedal on it a little bit. But it's not going to make a difference either way you look at it. But that's the only way I see it going that way. I mean, I really believe if they could have given Trump the chair in this case, and they still might be able to. We'll see what they drum up with this next. I think they would have. I mean, because it seems like they're just – I mean, it doesn't seem like it's obvious to anybody with, an IQ in the double digits that, they're just looking for a crime, and they really haven't found the crime. But this was a predetermined outcome from the start, because this is what Fat Twinkies Alvin Bragg ran on, was to get Trump. Then you have Juan Marchand, who has donated to Democrats like Joe Biden, and his daughter makes millions from Democrat politicians, including Joe Biden. I mean, does nobody see the conflict of interest? I mean, it was a predetermined outcome from the start. It didn't matter.
They all know that. They all
Matter.
knew. They knew no matter what happened,
Trump was going to be guilty from the start.
The same. Exactly.
Yep, that's right. He had no chance.
I think DeSantis was definitely a good governor for Florida. He did everything right when it come to COVID. He didn't lock him down like every other moron, idiot Democrats run state did. Didn't make him wear the mask. He didn't do any of that stuff, but sometimes he doesn't do so well. And Jeff, I don't know if you must be from Florida. because I don't think you agree with Glenn saying about DeSantis, but I like DeSantis.
Yeah.
I don't think he should have ran for president, but
yeah.
I think I think he was definitely a great governor for Florida, and I think his time's coming
Yeah.
to run for president, but it's not now.
This is my take on DeSantis real quick. I like the policies he put in Florida. I mean, I would definitely take him over the governor we got here in the communism of Pennsylvania for sure.
And the last one.
Yeah, well, it's basically the same person. Nothing's really changed. But I don't know how much I trust DeSantis at the moment. And the reason is this. Because when he ran for president, he got with the worst possible people you could possibly link up with if you're running on the Republican ticket, particularly if you're claiming to be a MAGA, a Trump-like candidate. He teamed up with people like Karl Rove and Jeb Bush. Those are the two last people you want your name involved with. DeSantis really screwed up with that. So I almost wonder sometimes, is DeSantis really on our side?
Yeah,
is everything we're seeing that he does in Florida an act? Or, I go back and forth on it. I really don't know. I don't know how much I trust him at the moment.
Glenn was being sarcastic. I got you now, Glenn. Okay.
I'm about to say, I would definitely take him over our governor, but I hope Trump doesn't pick him for VP, if I'm being honest.
No, I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I think he's going female, I think, but I don't know for a fact. But Trump's depending on the Supreme Court to decide, and thinks that they should decide on this New York case before it even gets to him. But first, I'm going to let you watch this video about Trump wanting the Supreme Court to hear this case. Take a look at this.
Former President Trump overnight saying he hopes to take his case to the country's highest court, posting the Supreme Court must decide, as he now braces for what could come at his sentencing in 6 weeks.
The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail. How do you face what that could look like? I'm okay with it.
An extraordinary moment after his unprecedented felony conviction on 34 counts of falsifying business records. The penalties now ranging from probation to prison time, which is technically possible, legal experts say, but highly unlikely.
I'm not sure the public would stand for it. I think it would be tough for the public to take. At a certain point, there's a breaking point.
Yep. Now we're going to go black because I didn't switch it on. But now, according to Trump, the sentencing for not having done anything wrong will be conveniently for the fascists 4 days before the Republican National Convention. Everything is being done on purpose by the Democrats because they have this planned out to the day. And you know that Joe Biden is not going to be able to plan stuff like this. He's not deciding things. He don't have the brain capacity to open a jar of pickles, let alone plan a corruption like this. He just signs off on it. Even if he does even that, they probably don't even tell him.
No, probably not. You almost wonder if people are forging his signature at times because, this guy, I don't know. I don't think he's involved in any of this, if I'm being honest, because, I mean, this guy can't do anything. I think it's everybody behind the scenes. I agree with you, Charlie. But this was definitely... Well, you know what? I don't know. I might contradict myself here a bit because there was a reason that Biden smirked when he was asked about this the other day. Everybody knows what he knew. So
but I don't think
he knows something. Yeah, no, he's definitely not making decisions. I'm not asserting that, but he might know a little bit about what's going on. I will say. Because the Biden regime, the deep state, was definitely involved in this. This came from Biden's team. Everybody could see it. Everybody could see. And this is another thing that people need to realize. This is something that nobody's really paid attention to. So this Juan Marchand got this case, right, and convicted Trump. What other case is Juan Marchand about to take right now? Steve Bannon's case for his contempt of Congress.
No, I didn't know that.
Bannon, of course, worked in the Trump administration, and now he has his own podcast on Real America's Voice. It's gotten very popular, actually, called War Room, Steve Bannon's War Room. they're trying to throw him in prison like they did Peter Navarro for the same crime that Merrick Garland committed, by the way. But I'm sure Merrick Garland won't, face any repercussions for it. But how is it that Juan Marchand, a guy that is profiting off politicians like Joe Biden and other Democrats, got not only Donald Trump's case, but Steve Bannon's case?
Yeah, I don't understand how that works.
Something's going on here. I don't know if he had Peter Navarro. I don't think he had Peter Navarro's, but he definitely had Trump's, of course, and he definitely has Steve Bannon's. That's enough to make you raise your eyebrows a bit.
Oh, yeah. Now, on top of all this and all this other bullshit trials that are coming up for Trump, he has to deal with this lawsuit he's got against Fani Willis because he appealed to have her removed from the case. Now, this case is set for October, and I think it was the 24th, they said, likely putting this trial for this lawsuit that Trump has up against her, against Fani Willis, past election day. Now, I want you to hear about this tentative hearing that Fani Willis is set to hear. So listen to this real short video.
Also, within the last hour, we have learned the State Court of Appeals will hear arguments for removing Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from the election interference case. This will happen before this year's presidential election. Now, a 3-judge panel has set aside time in October to hear this case. The appeal effort centers on a March ruling by Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee. That ruling, you might remember, resulted in former Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade's resignation from the election interference case after information came to light that he and Willis shared for a time a romantic relationship. It's not clear whether a ruling on the appeal could be handed down.
Now, this case should have been knocked down as soon as Judge McAfee should have disqualified her and Nathan Wade for lying under oath to him in his court about their relationship. But instead, this corrupt-ass judge gives them the choice. Either he goes or she goes. Now, how pathetic is that? So now Trump has to spend more money with attorneys to try to get rid of her ass because they cannot follow the law. Things that the Democrats do seem to move at a snail's pace, but they seem to accomplish more than what Republicans do. This is what we need to change with this Republican Party. They need to step up, start holding people accountable, and act a little faster in a more productive way.
Yeah, I mean, really anything other than a ridiculous hearing just meant for Fox News, aka Entertainment News Network, would be fantastic from the House Republicans. But this Fani Willis case should have been completely dismissed. The judge shouldn't have given the option either you go or Nathan Wade goes, because, and I've made this argument before, if you could say that there's a conflict of interest to the point to where one of them have to recuse themselves from the case, how can you also say that these charges were not put in place due to that same conflict of interest? The case should be completely thrown away. It should be done. We shouldn't even be talking about this anymore. She was screwing the prosecutor. Conflict of interest. Case is done. It's over. That's what should have happened, but it didn't, because it happened in corrupt-ass Fulton County, Georgia, where they supposedly stopped counting in the election 2020 because of a water pipe burst.
Yeah.
That, I have my doubts about that really happened. Did that really happen? I have some serious doubts about that, considering we still saw the vote count for only Joe Biden go up like we did in many of the other swing states. It should have been thrown out. We shouldn't even be talking about this anymore. It's completely ridiculous.
Well, now Georgia's government, their house and stuff, they're showing all kind of fraud in Fulton County, Georgia. They're showing all kind of illegal ballots being counted, illegal ballots being duplicated. They're showing all kind of fraud in that county on the 2020 election.
And so this is happening in a lot of places.
Right.
And they all happen to be swing states.
Why is the case still there?
It shouldn't be. I agree with you. It shouldn't be.
They've already shown the fraud, so it's not like Trump was wrong.
No.
About asking it, because it's like even Democrats ask, and they complain about the election being stolen from them. Every election. I don't give a shit who you are.
And even if Trump was wrong, and I'm not saying he is, we all know the election was stolen, but let's just play their game for a second here. Even if Trump was wrong and everything was completely fine with the election, even if he was lying about it, even if he knew that everything was fine and he lied about it, that's still not a crime. That is protected by the First Amendment. All he did was, he didn't say, get on the phone and say, find me votes. That's a lie. That's a lie. He said, this is what we're hearing, that there's problems here, here, and here. We need to look into this. This is the votes that I need, but I think I won by much more. He's not saying find me votes. That was a lie. So it really doesn't matter either way you look at this. Stolen election, no stolen election. We all know here that it was a stolen election because, we don't have our heads firmly up our ass. We know it was stolen. But even if it wasn't, it's not a crime to question elections. Hillary Clinton did it. According to Hillary Clinton, to this day, she really won the 2016 election. Down in Georgia as well, Stacey Abrams still believes that she won the governor race the last 2 elections, and she didn't. Nothing ever happens to either one of them. This is the 2-tier system of justice that you've been hearing about over the last few years. This is it. This is why America is currently not a free nation, and we have to get it back, and it all starts with putting Donald Trump back in the White House this election.
Oh, most definitely. But now we got the lame news, fake media talking about the corrupt Democrats keep talking about, well, Trump now he'll lose his voting rights. But hold on a second, Ron DeSantis, the governor, says, I don't think so. He said that Trump will not lose his voting rights in Florida because as of stands right now, he is considered a felon. But I think Ron DeSantis, like I said earlier to some of the comments in chat in Wimpkin, that he was a great governor for Florida and handled COVID well, kept his people safe, not locking down like all of our other states in the Democrat regime. But there is so much going on with that. I think we're going to save that for another day about the COVID. And we got into it yesterday, didn't we?
We talked a little bit about it, I think.
But there's so much people slamming on Fauci because of his lies and bullshit, especially on Dan Bongino today. He showed where Biden said, or where Fauci said, I am science. Then they questioned him today, and what's her face? MTG. She asked him, are you science? And he said, I am a scientist. He will not say those words that he said on tape, that I am science. When you question science, you're questioning me. Well, who gives a fuck? We're going to question you. You're a piece of shit. And that's when she said, you are Mr. Fauci.
The only thing that would have made that day better is if Rand Paul was somehow able to attend that hearing. I know he's in the Senate, but he's had some battles with Fauci too. That would have been great. That would have just been the cherry on top. I mean, that is one of the first people that Trump should that Trump's new Department of Justice should be going after day one of his second term, because this guy is completely guilty. Completely guilty. This guy should go to prison for the rest of his life.
Oh, most definitely.
No question.
No question about it. But now we're speaking of corrupt Democrats. They are saying, believe this, no way out without bloodshed. The right believes that the U.S. is under threat and are mobilizing. Now, they are playing with a fear factor again. This is how they do it to their Dominion sheep, trying to get them to believe that we, the people, us, Trump supporters, are planning some kind of attack in this country. They are the most pathetic party I've ever seen. They are using something that happened on the Dan Bongino show because Dan wrote that pick a side or you're next. But this was actually written from a true social media platform on Trump's this was right after Trump's 34 felony convictions, because one of the viewers wrote to Dan, seriously now, I see no way out of this mess without bloodshed. When you can rig an election, then weaponize a government and the courts against former president, what other alternatives are there? And this is a 70-year-old man said he would rather die than live in tyranny. So I guess one person saying something like this means that we're all getting ready to stage some kind of war against the government, because this is a typical Democrat playbook material, working on fear to get their little sheep to follow them like good little puppy dogs that they are. But one day I hope these people wake up, get a brain, and see that the Democrats are so pathetic. Now, I want you to watch this video of the Democrats freaking out over this election and Biden being their nominee. Watch this.
It was Democrats going into full-blown freak-out mode, according to Politico. The article says, quote, all year, Democrats had been on a joyless and exhausting grind through the 2024 election, Democrats and the rest of us. But now, nearly 5 months from the election, anxiety has morphed into palpable trepidation, according to more than a dozen party leaders and operatives. The gap between what Democrats will say on TV or in print and what they'll text their friends has only grown as worries have surged about Biden's prospects. Now, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre tried to crush those rumors. Let's watch.
Are you guys here at the White House in full-blown freak-out mode?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
There's a Politico story. It sounds like Democrats outside, the quote is, Biden's stubbornly poor polling and the stakes of the election are creating the freak-out.
So, again, I'm going to be mindful. I'm not going to comment on 2024 election. I will say this. The president has never forgotten where he came from, who he is.
I got raised in the black church. He knows I'm not kidding. I got my education for real in the black church. And that's not hyperbole, it's a fact. And so I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home politically. I probably went to shul more than many of you did. You all think I'm kidding. He can tell you I'm not.
He understands what the American people are going through as they're sitting around the kitchen table.
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of the American people think they're in good shape economically.
You hear the president talk about his time growing up.
This son of a bitch is clueless. He's a Catholic, or supposedly a Catholic, but he's saying he was raised in a black church and educated in a black church, or it was in a Jewish church. That son of a bitch.
And Puerto Rican.
Oh yeah, and he was Puerto Rican. So
yeah, I mean, this definitely is the most. This definitely is the most diverse regime ever, especially when the talking head of that regime is not only he appears white, but apparently he's really black, Jewish and Puerto Rican. Is there anything else in there that I missed, or?
I don't know. There was all kind of stuff that was going on. That was only three of what I found.
And remember, he was the man that stared down Corn Pop many years ago. I mean,
man, but he drove truck. He drove tractor trailer. He's done it all. So
hey, he's done everything but have a successful political career.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how he can have so many accomplishments, so many great stories, but have such a lousy political career over these many decades that he has been in Washington, D.C., because everything he touches as a politician seems to turn to shit, does it not, Charlie?
It most definitely does. That some bitch has had a failed 50-year political career, and a corrupt one, too.
But yeah, you could tell that they're freaked out about this, and Politico is the Democrat playbook. These are people on the inside. They know if there's a freak. I can't believe they actually published the story. Honestly, that's the thing that's most shocking to me. I mean, it's obvious to anybody looking at everything that's going on that these people are freaked out. I mean, like I said before, if they were not freaked out about this election, they would not be going after Trump through these Moscow show trials, these political persecutions that we see. if they were so confident they could either win legitimately or even B, if they could steal the election like they did in 2020. It's clear they're not confident in either of those two outcomes. So what's the other alternative?
Yeah.
Jail your political opponent.
Right, there's a couple good comments here. Sean says he's a burnt corn color. Jeff, he's whatever he thinks will get him votes. You damn right. That's exactly what it is. He says anything and does anything just to get him votes.
That's every politician. You got to remember, politician, they are no different than whores. They will do or say anything that puts money in their wallet. They're all whores.
Oh, there's no doubt there. Now, I can't see that what I was going to do here, but we got to jump ahead. If I can find what the hell I'm doing, I can't see what I'm doing here. If my thing won't move. Oh, going the wrong way. That's why. But we go ahead. We're going to jump ahead here as the Joe Biden border crisis is going crazy here. Let me see if I can get back to where I want to be here. Yeah. Now we're talking about the November election coming up because Joe Biden now is deciding to do his executive order when it comes as early as tomorrow. Well, it's just today. Now, he had 3.5 years to stop this, and he didn't do it. But now, all of a sudden, as soon as the election time
comes, election year.
He's wanting to do something about it. Now, Brendan found this article earlier. Now, go ahead with what you were going to do. Which
I didn't have the article. You got the video.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a video for you guys. This is from fake news MSNBC. This is gonna give you a little bit of a rundown. Oh wait, I do have some articles too, but we'll play the video first. Let's play the video from MSNBC. That will give you guys a little bit of a look at what's in this executive order.
The president has signed an executive action which will temporarily shut the southern border between legal crossings as soon as today to asylum seekers. The action triggers a closure when illegal crossings hit 2,500 a day. And right now, daily averages are topping at 4,000 people, so it could begin starting right away. Asylum seekers at legal ports of entry will still be allowed through, but the White House is already bracing for the expected legal challenges, similar to what Mr. Trump faced as president when he tried to impose a similar crackdown. A bipartisan bill to limit migrant crossings failed to even get a vote 6 months ago after Donald Trump told Republicans to kill it, Democrats saying so he could campaign on the border crisis as an issue.
So you notice everything that they just listed in that executive order that Biden just signed today. Sounds very familiar, does it not? Doesn't that sound a lot like the quote-unquote border security bill that the Republicans killed and the Democrats made a big deal about, and MSNBC just mentioned it there so Donald Trump could campaign off of it? Well, this executive order seems very similar. I want to show you guys a couple of tweets real quick I found on Twitter. Let me do the screen share again. Okay, let me know when you can see it, Charlie. There seems to be a delay. Good?
Up. Yep.
Okay, so here's a couple tweets from Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is a former senior advisor to President Trump. He says, this border executive order makes mass migration permanent. One, it exempts child trafficking to ensure trafficked children are delivered to their U.S. destinations. 2, it funnels all surplus traffic to the ports via phone app for automatic entry plus deportation amnesty. 3, it leaves all 15 million new illegals that are already here in the United States here. Stephen Miller went on to write, the media got punked. It's another open border, fast pass entry, mass resettlement, come one, come all, pro-invasion, monstrosity. From the invader-in-chief, pure open borders. And down here they have a little screenshot from whitehouse.gov talking about the executive order. They have this part highlighted here. Any non-citizen who is permitted to enter by the Secretary of Homeland Security acting through CBP immigration officer based on the totality of the circumstances, including consideration of significant law enforcement, officer and public safety, urgent humanitarian and public health interests at the time of the entry or encounter that warranted permitting the non-citizen to enter. So, as you see here, and I'm going to exit the screen share, it's not going to do anything to solve the crisis at the border. Like we said before about the border bill that the Republicans killed, this is only going to make it worse. And that's exactly what this executive order is going to do. But the reason that Biden passed this was because you know that the media is going to cover for him. They're going to go on Morning Joe tomorrow on MSNBC and all these other shows just like it. And they're going to say how Joe Biden was able to solve the border crisis alone with no help from Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. That's going to be the narrative. I don't think people are going to fall for it, though. I think the American voters are going to say, why didn't you take action on this sooner? Why did you wait till it was an election year?
It's a little too late now.
Excellent.
He's got 5 months to go, and it's not
exactly
going to work.
Right. Nope,
So,
I don't think so either. But that's going to be the narrative in the media. I don't think people are going to fall for it.
You're right, Tammy. Anyone with a half a brain knows better. Well, we're talking about liberal, idiot Democrats. I don't even think they have a half a brain. But according and
No.
Sean, yeah, I love Governor Abbott of Texas because he's locking these people up. He's arresting them. He's deporting them. The man is fighting for all of us, not only Texas, but he is fighting for everyone. And that's what I like about Abbott. The man is a fighter, and he doesn't put up with Biden's bullshit, that's for sure. Now, we all know about Joe Biden dismissing over 350,000 asylum applications and letting these criminals stay in our country without a court hearing, without proper vetting. He don't even know who the hell these people are, but they're going to let them stay here. And most of these people are criminals, mental patients, cartel members, terrorists, rapists, drug dealers, you name it, they're here. And this son of a bitch just does it on his own and dismisses all these cases and gives them free roam of our country.
Yep. All Biden had to do was keep Donald Trump's border policies in place. That's all he had to do. And he still could do that today. Instead of signing this executive order, he could have just signed everything that Trump did back into law, but he can't do that because, of course, Donald Trump is his opponent. He'll be admitting that Donald Trump was right if he did it. So, like I said, he's just signing this one that really doesn't do anything because, as we all know, these people a lot of them aren't making too long of a journey. I mean, you see these people, they're freaking 300 pounds overweight. They got a brand new iPhone and everything else and all this shit. You know, they're being transported to the border. So all they're going to do is they're just going to bring them in at different times so they could, quote unquote, stay below the number that Biden put in through his executive order. But they're still all going to end up here. This is giving a green light for the invasion.
Now we got Judicial Watch has filed another Freedom of Information Act against Joe Biden and the Biden administration to get the Robert Hur report or the audio recordings of them because the DOJ department is now seizing on an increasing common fear as it fights to prevent the release of these audio tapes and interviews with former counsel Robert Hur. Now, the DOJ did state that they removed some words from the transcript. Now, that's falsifying information from an official proceeding. That alone, the Republicans should have jumped on and impeached Merrick Garland just with that alone and hold people accountable for tampering with evidence is exactly what they did. But nothing is being done. But Judicial Watch, they keep fighting for everybody and suing the government. And actually, they're doing more than what the Republicans have been doing. Now, that brings us to this next article about the DOJ is now going to try to blame AI for tampering with Biden's audio on Her's report. Now, there was never anything about AI or tampering. They just didn't want to give up the recordings because Brendan said this, I think, yesterday, talking about that.
Yeah.
About the taking words or something.
Yeah, well, what they're saying they did is they omitted some words like prepositions such as and even words like you know, and words like this, filler words essentially. But the problem with doing that is that they have altered the audio, because one thing that will take away, even if they remove those words, what was the one thing in Her's report that all the Republicans are talking about? That he is a weak, elderly man with poor memory. So who's to say that just by taking out words like and whatever else they said they took out, that would show how slow Biden's mind really is, if you couldn't already tell by listening to him speak, especially today. But that would just go to show even more why Robert Hur felt it necessary to mention that in his report. That's why they don't want to release the audio, because, like we said before, anybody could write up a transcript. You don't know if that's accurate or not. Just because they say it's accurate, we have no way of knowing. They don't want to release the audio because it's going to show just how weak and feeble and demented Joe Biden is. That's the only reason they don't want to do it.
Madeline telling you Brendan and
yes.
Obama is running this show. You see that?
Yeah, and I've said that even before Biden was installed into the White House, that this was going to be Obama's third term, because remember, Barack Obama essentially told us that he was running the show. Remember when he was interviewed, I forget who he was interviewed by, but he said that if he was able to still be president, but do it from behind the scenes, he sits on the couch in his sweatpants and gives the orders to somebody else and tells them what to do, he would do it. That's exactly what is happening. He told us from the start that this is what was happening. This is Obama's third term. And, a lot of people have been saying that from the start, but I've thought that for a very, very long time. And when Obama made that statement, that just cinched it up for me.
Now, Sean, is that Home Depot in Texas, is that covered with illegals down there? Because I know down in Georgia, I used to see all kind of illegals running around down there when I was down there seeing my brother. Is that where they hang out? Is the Home Depot trying to find jobs or something? Let me know. But now these people will not stop their lies and their corruption no matter what. So Joe Biden and them trying to blame AI is just another cover-up so they don't have to give out the recording that they know, because Brendan just mentioned it all, that they're hiding everything about the corruption and his demented faculties, and it's never going to change if we don't do something come November. But I'm hoping Judicial Watch keeps on them and keeps the lawsuits going, because it's not going to stop.
No, it's not going to. The only way out of this, we got to fight as hard as the left does, and really even as, I mean, I don't even want to call them the left anymore. I want to call them the Uniparty, because that's what it is. Because there's a lot of Republicans in this too. They'll fight. They'll fight. The Uniparty will fight against the people. The people and the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, we got to fight just like they do. I mean, metaphorically speaking, of course. But when it's time to throw a punch, they throw a punch. A lot of Republicans don't want to throw a punch. The MAGA wing will. But we need more than just the quote unquote MAGA wing. We need more people on our side to throw a punch when it's time to throw a punch. That's why we get so frustrated with House Republicans, because they're all talk and no action. We can't be a party of all talk and no action because we see where that's gotten us today.
Now we're going to go off a comment Icho made. The liberal fake news media has been lying to the world since before we were all born. White people can't be racist or privileged. Here's a list of white slave trades: Barbary slave trade, Arab slave trade, Irish slave trade, Crimean, Roman, Greek, German, trade aid, Slavic. Hundreds of millions of white people were enslaved over the last 3,000 years. Half were white women. Oh yeah, but no, if you don't hear from the Democrat, but the Democrats should. They are the ones that owned most of the slaves back in those days too. And people forget that stuff.
Yeah, that's why I get so tired of hearing all this talk about slavery, and it all comes from mainly liberal white women, with white guilt. You look at all of our heritage, where all of us came from. We're all descendants of slaves. All of our ancestors were slaves if you go back far enough. So it's ridiculous to even talk about. I get so sick when I hear like these race baiting black people, and a lot of them are really white. A lot of them are really white people. You don't hear as many black people talk about this as you do white people. I'll get to that in a second, but they let me finish this thought here first. But they always play the victim card, but they're not any different than us. We're all descendants of slaves. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, now
Madeline, absolutely right. That's exactly what they meant when they said hope and change. She said, now we know what Obama and Michelle, aka Mike said when they campaigned on hope for change. Well, remember, Barack Obama did say when he first got elected that he was going to fundamentally change the United States.
And he did, racially.
Yep, he absolutely did. He stirred up the racial tension that was basically dead in this country. He stirred it back up and divided us all again.
Big time. Now, I'm going to a comment from Sean made, talking about illegals taking jobs because they live 12 to a household and they underbid himself and others. You know what, Sean, you are right, because I saw that. My brother actually told me about that, and I didn't believe him, but he took me down to a Home Depot, and it was on a payday, and we saw all these guys, and we followed their van. They all piled into this van. I'll tell you what, if there wasn't 20 people in this van, they all piled in. They went down to a Winn-Dixie. They all got out. They went in. They cashed their checks. They got back in. They went to the beer distributor down the road. They grabbed all their beer they got, because at Winn-Dixie, they're sending part of their checks back to Mexico or wherever the hell they're from for their families and stuff. They got back in their van. They went to their house. Now, they opened the door up, and you could see inside. There's no furniture. There's nothing. There's sleeping bags on the floors, and they are stacked like freaking boxes, sleeping. And then you're right. There was 12, 14, 15 people in one house, and it's disgusting. Most pathetic thing I see. Every one of these. That's why we got to get Trump back into office, because he got to get these people the hell out of here. This is becoming a third world country, and we cannot do this shit anymore.
No, we cannot. No, we cannot at all.
So between now and then, we all have to do our parts, getting out to the people, to get the truth out to them, making sure that they understand there's consequences to not getting out and voting come November. They can and will be very bad if the Democrats take control of the White House again for another 4 years. So please help us get the truth out.
We will not survive. I'm telling you guys, we cannot survive 4 more years of this. The country that we all grew up in will be completely lost forever, and I don't think there will be any chance of getting it back if we don't put Trump back in the White House. I mean, I really, really believe that. That is why it's so important. Get everybody you can to go out and vote. That's why me and Charlie do this. We have to be victorious this election. there is no substitute for victory this election.
That's why I ask you guys about sharing our videos, even our live streams, everything to wake people up, to make sure that they get out and vote on November 5th. We got to get them out to vote. No matter what we do, we have to do this. So please don't forget to go to our Rumble pages. Mine is It's a Country Conservative. Brendan's is the Brendan Statler Show. Follow us, like our videos, share our videos, even with all those liberal idiots out there. Share them with as many as you can. They have to see the truth. You can't smack them in the head because that's not going to help them. They ain't got no brains to smack around. So you got to get our videos out to them so they'll see the truth. And everything we bring to you, it's not like you guys can't look them up. And if you guys want us to start bringing, telling you where we get our information from again, I did start to slack off on that.
How we could, what we could do, Charlie? We could start putting links in the comments section on all of our, well, at least for Rumble.
Well,
I don't know about Wipkin and all that.
Well, yeah, you could probably do that. I don't know. But I mean, we go Just the News. We do a lot of different news sites that I could start putting that back in there, because you can look up everything that we talk about. We actually get them from a source, and you can look them up for yourself. We're not lying. We don't just make this stuff up. So please don't forget to follow us, like us, wherever you're tuning in from. And follow us. It helps us get our reach out further to people. And the more people we get on here to view our live streams and stuff, that helps them. And if you guys share that video from Twitter or Wipkin or Facebook or wherever, that gets out to more people that you guys have as friends and stuff. That helps us out. That helps us, because November is coming up quick. We're already the first week of June's about gone.
I know. It's going to be here before you guys know it. It's going to be here very soon.
Right. So we got to do something. That's why we're doing this and trying to get as much information as possible after we know we keep jumping from here to there and everywhere else. But it's important that we get this information out to you guys and help us get it to other people. And that's why we love you guys being on here. These guys are great on Wipkin. I love them.
They are. Yeah, and I noticed we retain a lot of the same people too. I mean, I see new names on here, but we retain a lot of people here too. The people on Wipkin are awesome. They really are. Thank you guys.
They are. Yes, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in to tonight. We did run over a little bit, but that's okay. We got to get the information out to you no matter what. So thank you for tuning in tonight to the Conservative Viewpoint. And I'll just leave you with this. As we conclude tonight's episode, I invite you to imagine a world where ideas collide, where debates ignite, and where flame of liberty burns ever brighter. In this arena of discourse, we stand not as adversaries, but as stewards of democracy. Our convictions are the compass guiding us through the tempest of uncertainty. We may hail from different shores, but our shared commitment to freedom unites us. So as the sun sets on this conversation, let us remember that history is written by those who dare to engage. It is etched not in apathy, but in action, not in silence, but in a renaissance of voices echoing across time. So let us be the architects of change. Let us build bridges across ideological chasms. For it is at the crossroads of understanding that progress blooms. Let us honor the legacies of those who fought for suffrage, who marched for justice, and who cast their ballots with unwavering purpose. And when you step into that voting booth in November, remember that you hold a torch, a beacon of conviction. Your vote is not merely a mark of paper. It is a ripple in the river of democracy, shaping the course of our nation. May your convictions be fierce, your debates enlightening, and your engagements unwavering. So until tomorrow night, guys, keep the flame burning bright. And everyone, have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. God bless.
See you guys.